Welcome to the Health Shift Revolution, Bakersfield, California's premier holistic health network, featuring Roland Brown and Bobby Perrine. Two completely different guys on the same path with the knowledge, experience, and no-nonsense approach to help you navigate the way through the difficult journey of finding your way to holistic health. We're glad you stopped by. Take a second, slow down, and you just might discover that your goals are closer than you think. Take it away, guys.
Welcome to the Health Shift Revolution podcast. How you doing this morning, brother?
Hey, I'm doing well, Bobby. How are you this morning?
Perfect. I'm
Yeah. Wow.
Oh yeah.
That's different.
My diet's good. My addictions are under control. Exercise every day. I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing
Okay.
all right.
Well, you said perfect, and I was just trying to qualify that. You're perfectly all right.
I'm perfectly all right, man.
There we go.
That's
Good
exactly
deal.
right.
That's it. Okay. I
was
can
a
agree
week.
with that.
How was that first week of the year?
Very profitable in a lot of different ways. So relationally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, and financially. So
All
it's
right.
been a good week across the board. I've been privileged to meet some new people, acquired a couple of new clients. I've got we started Bible study again this week. It's
right.
just a lot of stuff as just pretty much life is returning to normal and then some. So I'm really in good shape. My wife got a good health report because she's been having some respiratory issues, but her lungs are clear.
Welcome to Bakersfield, right?
It's been it's like that 1 week being out of Bakersfield, really made an impact. So So
you get your lungs cleared up, and then you come back into the cloud.
Exactly, but and we'll go from there. But so it's been on pretty much on all fronts. It's been a exceptionally great beginning to the year.
Well, good, man. I had a kind of a crazy week. I went to touch my website at tabobta.com. I went to update it, and when I hit update, there was a glitch in the system, and it erased about 80 hours worth of work. So I'm
okay.
So
great.
My life is the exact opposite of yours right now. Struggling a little here and there, and the website and everything. But at the same time, instead of getting upset, you've known me long enough that when things go to the left, I'm just like, okay, let's figure it out.
We straighten it out. Well, adversity builds character, and you have a great deal of it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Exactly. Yes, indeed. So, I'm proud of you.
How are your clients doing with their first week? I know.
Well, since we took a
happens.
week off of vacation, everybody's sore. Okay, let's start that. But you know how the first of the year is. The beautiful part about having, my clientele, so to speak, or having regular people that are doing. We're just in the middle of normal life when it comes to their training. That's the whole point. It's the consistency in training that has that is probably most important. So what does the new year bring? Well, the new year simply brings more of the same. Last year they were training up until I went on vacation, and they trained while I was on vacation, and then and now we're back together and we're stepping into a new season of goals and a new season of training. So that it's like anybody else, all of us who do this consistently recognize that is the key to success. And so 1 year is, there's nothing new. This year you get to make, as we talked about the last time we were together, you're not making resolutions, to start something, like your health. You're just making resolutions and simply making adjustments to the process by which you manage your health. So there are new decisions to be made, but it's not about that. You get to focus on something else if you want to make a new start on something this year. But consistency is the same. I just want to be, I want this year and the things I do this year to build off of things I was doing last year.
Right. I had a person email me the other day, and she said she had listened to the podcast, and she said, you seem to have a lot of ups and downs in your life, my life personally, where I'm motivated. Sometimes I'm not motivated, and other times I am. And she said, how do you consistently keep working out? And I said, well, we got in a good conversation about motivation. And I said, there's different types of motivation. And even when my motivation goes away, so you've got to be motivated. Sometimes you got to be disciplined all the time, because motivation comes from like somebody can listen to our podcast and I want to go. I'm ready to go now. And that's extrinsic motivation. That's motivation that's coming from the outside in. That's Les Brown, Roland Brown, David Goggins. It's when you get excited about something. You're like, sure, I'm going to start in the morning. And when the morning comes, extrinsic motivation usually peters out. It's gone it's gone within a few hours. So, and I explained that to her. And then intrinsic motivation comes from, I need to act. I'm sick. I'm tired. I'm overweight. I'm whatever. I want to change my life. And that's the motivation that you need to get started. Mm-hmm. And then I explained to her that doesn't last either. What happens is you get tired, you get sore, you get sick, you get busy. My life is a whirlwind of family and websites and working out and tracking my food and doing all the things that I have to do. And you get tired doing that. And
exactly.
At the end of intrinsic motivation, if you can keep it long enough, then that's when you develop discipline. And then I told her, I said, you have to develop discipline, and that can only be done by long-term doing the same thing, even when you don't feel like it.
Correct.
So the three types of motivation we're talking about here are intrinsic from the inside, extrinsic from the outside, and that other one that we all have sometimes, none.
Right. And and you might want to, I love the idea of motivation, because motivation gets you, it's becoming more and more of a buzzword. Much
it is. It really
especially
is.
when it relates to fitness or anything like that. I think the real, when it comes to we used to say, well, I still say, and for a while there was a campaign. One of our fitness, gurus back in the day used to, marketing people came up with this campaign, know your why. And the why is still the same. And it's interesting how these things come and go as campaign slogans, as fads, as that type of thing. They disappear and they evolve into something else, and but the reality is that has always been the focal point. It's one of those things that should not be a slogan. It should be, and it always is, the way we operate as human beings.
Right.
We only do what we want to do. We can look at outside ourselves and say, well, they made me do that. Like Flip Wilson, back in the day, the comedian used to say, the devil made me do it. Okay. Yeah. No, the truth is the devil made you do exactly what you wanted to do.
Right.
Okay. Nobody makes us do anything. We as human beings are never made to do anything. We always have the choice to refuse. And so we do the things we want to do. What we don't understand is why I'm doing something. Okay. There may be a motivation. Somebody may have a gun to your head and you go, I'm not doing this. And they say, if you don't do this, I'm pulling the trigger. Well, if you want to live, then you acquiesce and you say, the reason they did that is because they held a gun in my head. No, the reason you did it is because you did not want to get shot.
You want to live.
You wanted to live. Okay.
Right.
If you had chosen, you had the choice of saying, well, pull the trigger because I'm not going to do it. And so every one of us has to identify our why. That's an extreme example, but we pretty much do that to ourselves every day. We hold a gun to our heads and we say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get out of bed, and then you get to arguing with the gunman. Okay. In the morning, you argue with yourself. I need to do this. No, I'm not going to do this now, but I could do this. And then you decide, no, I'm going to choose to stay in bed. But today, when it comes to responsibility, we want to make excuses rather than saying, I'm going to take responsibility either for my improved health or my decreasing health. But either way, I am the one who's making the decisions and the choices, whether or not I am going to get up or lay down, whether I'm going to eat this or eat that. It's always that choice. And the reality is, in the world, and you and I have talked about this before, and this will come up over and over and over again. In this technological world, and the technology-based world we live in, there is such a vast chasm between the need for physical fitness and financial material success that it is no longer about survival. And so we have to choose to be physically fit in order to maximize the quality of our life and maximize the quality of our investments. And so that's the part that we as professionals have to help people to see that being physically fit is more than being physically attractive. It's more than being a high level of performance or any of those things. It really has a benefit to your everyday life and the simple life you want to lead when it comes to just enjoying your family to the maximum.
Right.
Being as productive as you can in your occupation or in the activities that bring you joy. That is where we have to help people to see that so that they can become intrinsically motivated. I'm doing this. Why? Because I want the best I can get out of my life.
I get it. I haven't lived the life that I have lived where I've gone decades without taking care of myself. And I know how that feels. Excuse me. I know how that feels to get up and be sick and oversleep and all the things that come with being out of shape and being really sick is what I was. And I didn't know. So, a lot of things come with that and you got to work your way out of that hole. But I tell you what, Roland, the thing that I'm coming to grips with as I talk to you more and more is that hole is always there. That hole you dug, it's always there. It's always within your reach, and it's always, the drugs and the alcohol and the fast food and all the choices that I make. They're always there. And the thing that I'm trying to come to grips with is to teach people that that's not going to go away. And that's a horrible thing to tell an addict. And addiction is addiction. It doesn't matter if it's food or lifestyle or drugs or alcohol or sex or whatever you're addicted to. So I'm trying to come to grips with the fact that it's always there. It's always going to be there. I'm strong enough. I don't care for that life anymore. But I do know that having worked on the streets with the homeless and in the county and in mental health, that the struggle is so real for people who are like, I've eaten that way all my life. And now you're telling me I do feel better. And they'll admit, I do feel better. And my mind is clearer. But that monkey on your back just refuses to go away. And guess what, folks? You may get the monkey off your back, but that monkey's going to be within your peripheral for the rest of your life.
And as well, it comes down to, one of whatever change, that people make, the first change that they make is going to be beneficial. I think I've mentioned this to you before, and some of this stuff, when we're talking about this, there's a lot of repetitiveness in this conversation and in this area, because the reality is it's very, very fundamental. The changes that need to be made are very, very fundamental, but you get to pick the change you make. I have had clients that don't like to change the way they eat. Okay, they like to eat. They don't want to have restrictions on their diet. They don't want to make
a lot of
big
people
changes
don't
in
want
their
that.
diet. So I'm cool with that. But I tell them what you have to do. If you don't want to change the way you eat, then you need to change the way you burn calories.
Right.
And so that means the workouts, the training you have to do has to be more intense. You have to do more of this. If your goal is to see physical changes, then what you have to do is, if you don't want to, make drastic changes to the fuel you ingest, then you have to make drastic changes to the way you use that fuel.
Right.
And so we will but you can't have both. And when most people say, I eat this, I've eaten like this all my life. Well, yeah. And what they don't realize is that you've eaten like this all your life. That's not the only problem. The way you've eaten isn't just about the food. It's about the fact that you've eaten it sitting down on the couch, watching TV. And when you finished eating it, you stayed on the couch and finished watching TV and kept watching TV until it was time to lay down. Then you stretched your legs out on the couch and you laid back on your back, and then you took a nap. And then you woke up from the nap, and then you got up and you went to the kitchen and you got some more to eat, and you sat down and you watched another show. And so when you look at your life after about 5 or 6 hours, of that kind of a cycle, and then you went to work and you sat down at work and you sat at work for 8 hours, and and you finally got up and you went to your car, and you sat in your car, in traffic for, an hour or half an hour or whatever it is, and then you got out of the car. And you got to the car and you walked to the house, and you went to the house and you walked through the kitchen. Then you sat down in the kitchen, and then you picked something to eat, and then you sat down in front of the TV and you ate it, and you repeat that cycle over and over and over again. Yep. So you find that you've walked, to the garage, from the kitchen to the couch, from the couch to the kitchen to the bathroom, from the bathroom to the garage, from the garage to the office door, from the office door to your desk, from your desk back to the office door, et cetera. And you've got about a mile of walking in, but you've eaten like you're running a marathon.
Right. You've eaten 4,000 calories or 6,000 even. I didn't realize how easy it was to eat 6,000 calories until I started tracking. I was like, wow, man, some of this stuff is so caloric dense that, you only need a tablespoon of it, but people are eating a whole bag of it. And like, so I have a friend who, it's funny how you said some people don't want to quit, so you have to adjust in other ways. I have a friend who weighed 320, 325, and he decided he was going to lose weight, and he went on a 2,000 calorie diet, and he said 1,200 of it was food and 800 of it was whiskey. And I was like, that'll never work. It worked. It totally worked. Exactly. He totally lost some weight. He said, I don't feel any better, but I still get the drink.
But I'm smaller.
Like, I get it. Exactly.
Yeah. You know what? Here's the thing. Calories are calories. The body is amazing. I always said if GM or Chevrolet or Ford or whatever had created the body, then most of us would be taking really, really good care of it, because we know that any minute it could break down. Okay.
I got you.
You imagine you're walking through the mall. You're not skipping meals if you're going to run out of gas, and you're walking through the mall, and all of a sudden you run out of gas and you're stuck standing there until somebody brings you a cheeseburger or something, and if we really operated like that, then we wouldn't have this issue. But the fact that, as the Bible says, I am wonderfully made, I am specifically made. God knit me together in my mother's womb. When you look at that and you realize that, okay, I have no power over how my body functions. My heart beats on its own. My breathing happens automatically. My blood flows on its own. All the things. The only thing I have the power to do is to manage the condition of it. But I have nothing to do with the design. I have nothing to do with its overall, especially the microscopic functionality of my cells, and you think about all this. I can't see it. I can cut myself and I can see the blood, but I can't see the cells in the blood. I can't see what they're doing. And so I don't have any control over that. And when I understand that and accept the reality that I was created in such an incredible way that okay, if I eat this, my body's going to dispose of it. It's going to burn it. It's going to store it. It's going to eliminate it. One of those things is going to happen. And so what I have to understand then is if I want it to function really well, there are some things I have to give it. And I have to give it movement. I have to give it resistance. I have to give it opportunity to heal itself.
Right.
And that is why, the idea of personal responsibility is so essential when it comes to our health and it comes to our well-being, because there is no pharmaceutical substitute that is going to make muscle on my body. There is no tablet or pill I can take that is going to make my body function at a higher level. It will simply suppress the symptoms of what's going on in my body, the negative symptoms. But that's the only reason we take pharmaceutical anything, is to suppress the negative symptoms so that we can feel like we're functioning better.
Yeah, the what you put in your body uses. Doesn't matter if it's heroin or cheeseburger or whatever. Your body's going to utilize it. And the thing is, if you want a healthy life, you put healthy things in your body. If you don't care or you don't know, man, you're gonna eat at McDonald's, and that's fine. Like you said, people make their own choices, and that is wonderful. I mean, what's my why? I like feeling good. I do. I mean, I wish it was more noble. I wish I'm feeling good for my children.
Yes.
No, that's a side effect. That's a side effect. I'm good for my kids now because I'm good for my wife now. And those are things that all just come with what I'm doing. But the reason that I do what I do, and you can see it in my eyes, because I feel good and I want to feel good. And whenever I cheat and whenever I don't work out, which is rarely now, I feel it almost instantly. I feel it that day. If I haven't worked out, I don't sleep right. If I haven't eaten right, I don't sleep right. And I wake up feeling bad. And it's all these things. When you completely clean your life up, then you start to realize one thing can take it out of you. And when you stop rolling and really think about that, one cheeseburger makes me feel bad. When I stop and think about it, I used to eat 3 and fries. And then walk away from that meal not knowing that I felt bad because I just felt normal. I just felt normal.
Exactly.
And now normally I feel good. And if I don't take care of myself, my body instantly relaxes. It tells me, my brain says, hey, it alerts me to that fact. And that's what I love about what happened to me as I got through that. The first was, of course, I remember when I started to walk. And I remember walking up the hill, and I listened to the same motivational tape every single day for a year. It was 45 minutes long, and it took me 45 minutes. I memorized that thing, and I got to the point where I felt it. Right. At certain points, I would think, okay, here comes that part that makes me want to just go. So I got that, and then I still listen to it once in a while. Because it's what developed discipline in me.
Yes.
Over and over. It's like you can't get good at anything without doing it over and over and over.
Repetition.
Repetition. And when I think back on what I did and I try to tell other people what I did, it seems insane to me. But I listened to the same thing every 45 minutes a day for a year. Are you insane? Right. Yeah, I was at that point. Yeah. So let's talk about, when I talk to people, I talk about it's just constant, whether I wanted to walk or not, I put that tape on. So Bobby,
you were saying, let me just touch on something, because I love what you were just saying. This idea that you picked a method of motivation for yourself that would allow that you could embrace.
Yeah.
That voice that you chose to follow, and that motivational tape, that voice that you chose to follow, you made a commitment to that. And the commitment was like, okay, I'm hearing this and I'm telling myself this is over and over and over again. So what I'm doing is I'm getting up with my friend who's speaking into my ear
perfect
every
analogy.
day and say, you can go. Yeah. So that's exactly required. And so every person has that. Every one of us has to find that in an individual way. And when we find that for ourselves, but that is whatever creates consistency in your life, that's what you do. And you enjoy it and embrace it. There is no one size fits all. And I really want our listeners to understand that. There is no one way to do this.
Roland,
embrace the way.
Yeah, I totally agree, because this health shift revolution is about helping people find that personal way to do it. You and I are not like, this is the way and this is what you're going to do, like it or lump it, get to work. And I don't feel that way at all.
Exactly.
There's so many, this is a modern age, and there's tons of diets that work, and they work for different types of people, and there's tons of exercise programs that work, and there's levels of intensity that work, and everybody can't go to your level, and no people can't come to my level, and I can't operate it at anybody else's. This is about me, and this is what I want the health shift revolution to if we could coin some phrase to put on a t-shirt. This is about me.
Yeah,
this is about me. That's all about me.
And if I could coin one phrase for people, I would tell them 20% or less. That's my body fat, that you want to target. If you want to do 20% or less. And there's an 80-20 rule in life, that we hear all the time. 80% of people do 20% of the work, et cetera, or 20% of people do 80% of the work. That's what it is, whatever it is. But the reality is, whatever you invest 80% of your time in, or 80% of your focus in, something like that, you got a 20% grace period. If I'm 80% lean, okay, then I don't have to really worry about what I eat. I don't have to concern myself with it.
But let me interject one thing there. When you say that, please everybody understand what Roland means. When you work that hard to be 20% and you say you can eat whatever you want, what you want is a different thing.
And that is up to a point, because 80% of the time, that's exactly right. Again, it's 80% of the time I eat quote unquote clean. Okay. Or more, depends on level. But, if I'm going out with, if I show up at a buffet, or I show up at a dinner, and this is all that's put in front of me, and my choices are here, then what I understand, frankly, is that I can eat this and I'm not worried about what's going to happen in my body. Okay. So I will eat this because this is fine, as long as it tastes good. Okay. But I will eat this. The qualifier for me is it's got to taste good, but if I'm on the road and I need to grab something, and the only thing is open, at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm driving down the highway, halfway somewhere, I'll pull in the Jack in the Box. I'll get there, whatever that little burger is, and I'll eat that. Those are the things that will happen, but I don't stress about that. I'm a carnivore, so I'm going to eat meat, and don't worry about how that helps. My body processes these things, but I also know the last thing I'm thinking about is whether or not I'm going to gain another pound. It doesn't. My brain, my body doesn't function that way. So I know that this fuel goes in, it goes out. And in emergency situations, I can eat, and I can be just fine with it. That's how most people live. If we're not professional athletes, or high level, performers of some sort of things like that. If you're a regular dad and you got to take your kids out to somewhere, and they're, walking through one of these amusement parks and stuff like that, you're sitting there going, okay, I am not going to go all day without eating something, and I will simply eat something. And you use what we always do is you make your best choices, best decisions. But yes, first and foremost, you got to get to the point where you can do that. It's always more restrictive when you're beginning. Always. It's harder in the beginning. And that's just the process. But once you've been living like this for years, the whole point of living like this is so that you can live.
A little bit for people, and I'd say months.
Yeah.
We don't want people to think
Well,
it
I'm
takes
talking about.
years
I'm talking about.
to get into this.
It. You know what? It takes years of being in a position of never
Right.
having to stress about having these conversations. The difference between my body at 33 and my body at 68 is the level of muscularity and leanness
Right.
that I can hold on to. Okay. At 33, it was
You're
effortless
telling
to hold
me.
on to
I
muscle.
remember.
Okay. At 68, I have to push a little harder to do the same kind of things. And even though I'm getting leaner because of the focus of my training now, it's harder to get to that level of leanness, not because I'm actually doing things to make myself more fat. It's just because holding on to muscle at a certain age
Right.
becomes more challenging.
Metabolism slows down.
That's all. Metabolism changes, everything changes, and that's just a biological degeneration of the human body. And so that's what I'm resisting. And so I have to change the focus, of that. I have this picture of my 33-year-old self in my, last competitions, staring at me over my shoulder, and I'm looking at that guy going, you know what? Those were great days. And I am still nearly as functional, however. And that's the difference. At 68, I can still do so many of the things that I could do at 33.
Yeah,
That's what matters.
I see it. I see those pictures of myself in the Marine Corps. I'm like, man, that dude was a badass. Yeah.
Jacked. Yes,
So then
exactly.
I look at myself
exactly. Now. But this guy is more
Exactly.
impressive. The guy I'm staring at, the guy people is more impressive. At that age, you were supposed to look like that.
Yeah.
That was like, you're supposed to be in that shape. That was always our mindset. I was a professional dancer.
I was a combat Marine. I had to be that way. I couldn't operate any other way. And now I've taken that mindset again, Roland, and I want to tell people I've taken the same mindset. I can't live any other way. There has to be that where motivation turns into discipline and discipline turns into a lifestyle. And when it's your lifestyle, it's easy. I mean, I don't want to exercise today. I'll be honest. But you know what I'm going to do as soon as I hang this call up? Hit the gym. There it is. That's what I do. So,
yes. And, there are people who are listening who are already my age, and they're already your age. And in fact, I had this conversation with a client the other day who's your age. He's younger than, obviously younger than me. And we were talking about the fact that if she continues the process of training now, that by the time she gets to my age, she will have been training almost 20 years. So she's actually younger than you. She's been training 20 years. So if you just keep this level of work up at 20 years, then by the time you get to this stage, all of that intervening years, you're going to have continual improvement. But by the time you get to be my age, you're going to be in such great condition. And you will have been in great condition for so many years that you won't have any memory of the condition you're in today. And that's the whole point. Suppose you don't die today or tomorrow or 10 years from now. This is the mindset we have to get people to get into. What happens if, I live? Stephen Stills once said, this Crosby, Stills, Nash. He said, man, if I'd known I was going to live this long, I'd have taken better care of myself.
He looked like a train wreck there.
I met this guy. I met him in an elevator in Tokyo back in 1981, and just had a chat going up an elevator and it was one of those funny things. And I will always remember that statement from him. And he didn't make that statement to me at that moment, but I heard it later on. And I realized that, because I met, we talked, I had that stick in my mind, and I've used that forever, because that's the point. We don't know. We don't think in terms of longevity. in our world. Everything is done in 60-second sound bites or, TikTok videos and things like that. We're training our brains to think in seconds and not in years anymore, and not for this idea of search of longevity. It's whatever you're doing today, you're doing today. You've managed to get through your day up to this point. You've set your world in place. They say, that overweight people are some of the most efficient people in the world because they keep everything within arm's length. And as a secretary, you got overweight secretaries are excellent because they have everything so they can minimal effort. And these are things that they've actually studied, and they study these things in office, and psychology and stuff like that. So we're looking at a world that's being trained to think in right now and right now.
And we're losing a lot of our culture, and we're losing a lot of things that built this country. I'm going to close this thought. Excuse me. What I told you before, I carried a guitar around for 20 years, almost 25 years, and I wanted to play it. And my lament, you reminded me, of course, my greatest lament was, man, if I'd have started when I was 18, I'd be playing for 40 years now. Well, when I did start playing, right there, I've been playing for 2 years now, Roland, and I can't remember what it's like not to be able to play. That's the beauty of this. You can start at any time. You can sit around and you can say, man, I wish I would have working out because I'd really be in good shape if I'd started last summer. We'll start now, because next summer you won't say that. You'll say, I've been in shape for a year. I've been in shape for 2. In my case, I've been in shape for 7 years. I've been this way for 7 years.
Yes.
And it's this thing that people look at you and they go, okay, there must be something to this. If you could do it for 7 years.
Yes.
Exactly. It's like driving a car, playing a guitar, playing the drums, anything, learning to sing. The more you do it, the more it becomes a part of your life. And that's what happened to me. Fitness is a part of my life. It put me in this chair talking to you, brother. And that's what I love about what's happening to me.
Yes.
My life got a lot better.
Amen.
My life got a lot better. And I'm not sick anymore. And I teach people how not to be sick, and I teach people how to eat, and I teach people how to work out and how to take care of themselves. And the main thing that I love about my life is I teach other people how to love themselves. And that is beyond anything I've ever done in my life. And I love it.
Yes, exactly. And as someone who has really never been out of shape, I have had the privilege of over almost 40 years now of leading people down this path. And what happens is, in my 40 years, I've been fortunate to gain so much insight and so much experience in how people believe and think and operate, the way this idea of physical fitness has evolved, or the more information has evolved. And I'm basically, I'm a guide now. I'm like those guides they used to, a wilderness guide. Okay. Everything, all of this noise, all the fads in the trees and all this kind of stuff, everything looks like, you're in a jungle, or you're in a forest and you're lost. And there's a guy who's in front of you who's walking along as if he's walking down a 5-lane highway and knows exactly where he's going and sees everything there is to see. And you're sitting there going, how are we going to get through that?
Don't worry about it.
And he goes, oh, it's right here. Joe, follow me. And that is the privilege. That is the joy that I've had, because what my physical life has allowed me is allowed me to let people know that we're not unique. When it comes to our physiology, we're not unique. We've all got the same body parts. We all breathe the same way. Other than our reproductive organs, we're pretty much, we're exactly the same. And so when we understand that, then it's not out of reach. None of this is out of reach. You're not going to be the only one. And I haven't said this 1,000 times. You're not going to be the first person that fitness training doesn't work for.
Right.
Okay. You're not going to be the one that, oh, I did this. Every time somebody says, I tried working out, which it means that you did not actually train. Okay. What you did was you tried going to the gym, and you got in your car. And how do you try going to the gym? You either show up to the gym or you don't. I tried to go to the gym, and I got in my car and it went to McDonald's instead. That is not, your car's like, no, you got no business going in here.
One of the craziest things that stuck with me from a child is my grandfather told me, he said he laid a quarter on the ground. I was young, like 6, 7 years old. He laid a quarter on the ground. He said, try to pick that quarter up. And I bent down and he stopped me. He said, try to pick the quarter up. And I bent down. He stopped me. And I said, well, I'm going to pick the quarter up. He said, I didn't tell you to pick it up. I told you to try. And I was like, oh, okay. There is no. And then later on in 1977, there is no try. There is only do. In Star Wars, there is no try here.
My boy Yoda.
If you're not doing it, you're not trying. Exactly. Sorry. That's the way I always felt about it.
Exactly.
So everybody, get to work. Get to work.
To quote Nike, just do it.
All right. Love you, man.
My brother.
Hey, everybody,
you too.
listen,
I appreciate you.
I need you to subscribe. I need you to pass this on because this message is universal and it's powerful. So subscribe, like, love, pass it on. I'll see you next week, bro.
Yes. Pass it on.
Later.
You got it. Take care.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. Roland and I are grateful for the time you spent with us today. If you liked it, subscribe because we'll be back every week to offer up that rational and reasonable advice on discovering your individual path to holistic wellness. It's time you join the revolution. See you next week.